Mike, the show started. The camera's rolling. What are you doing, man?
Well, Chuck, we're doing an episode today on time and time management, and I figured I'd look at myself in the mirror because I am not very good at this. So that's today's episode, time.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mike Charleston Show. I am Chuck Tate. I'm joined today by Mike and Sarah. How y'all doing?
I'm doing just fine. Chuck, how you been?
Been good. Good to be here.
How are you, babe?
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
So today's show, we're going to be talking about the subject of time. What do we mean by that, Mike?
Time is one of those things that we can't buy, and we all have the same amount. And we're going to talk about time and time management and how we use our time. But before we get into that, we wanted to do a little clip here for you and see if this sounds like your household. All right, guys, we got a couple hours before the podcast. Do you have any ideas for the podcast that we can do real quick? We're running out of time here.
Abigail, you could do another one of those games you did.
I don't know. It takes a lot of time to put those together. Wait, what if we did one of those Charleston theater audio drama things? Those are cool.
That would be great, but we have to have someone write a script out. We have sound effects. We have to put it all together. I don't know if we have enough time for that right now.
I could write the script, but I don't think if I have enough time. I've been super busy with everything lately.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I have time to find extra sound effects.
And putting it all together and editing it would take so long.
Guys, come on. I wish we had more time.
I know. Why don't we do a podcast on time?
Well, we could definitely spend a lot of time on that. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that little bit. But that does sound like a lot of us out there is that we just don't have enough time.
That's right.
We're busy.
Go. We're just always looking for that extra minute in the day to try to get something else accomplished. It's always just rush and never seems to be enough time.
Yeah, well, actually, in this episode, and I was kind of shocked at some of our research, which didn't help me, but you'll realize that you actually have a lot more time than you think. And we'll get into that, and we'll save that for later. But first and foremost, we're just going to get into straight facts here, right? So, time is our greatest resource, right?
It is. Well, because time is something that we all have equal, and we all need to choose to use it well.
Okay, what do you mean by that? We all have, it's equal.
Okay, well, so we all are given 24 hours in a day.
Right.
Nobody has more time. We say, I have more time or you have less time, but we all actually have the same amount of time.
Yes, even the rich and the poor. Doesn't matter. A woman, male, man, woman, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Child. Adults, we still have the same amount of 24 hours in a day. Now, not everybody has the same amount of time in their life. Some people die younger, some people die older. But every day when we wake up, we have the same amount of time, right?
We do. Everybody has the same from the beginning to the end. Regardless of how long we live, we got the same amount of time in each day. And what are we going to do with that? How are we going to spend that time?
Well, and actually for people like Jared out there, who's a big nerd, that is 1,440 minutes a day. Some people could already figure that out and be like, I could tell you it's 1,440. But that's how many hours we have in a day. But you know what I like to compare time with is what, Chuck?
Money.
We all can relate with money. We all know it hurts us to pull our wallet out and spend $100. If we pull a $100 bill out, we don't like to just hand over a $100 bill, right?
No.
So what do we mean by this, by money?
Well, the reason we compare it to money and why we say it's the greatest resource is because some people have more money, some people have less. But when it comes to time, we each have the same, and we each choose to spend it how we want to spend it.
Yeah, so the way we compared it before was if we had $1,000 each. Now we'll use $1,000 pretty general here. But say we had $1,000 each and we dispensed $1,000, we each had equal amount of money. Now that's not true necessarily. We all have different amount of money, but let's just say for argument's sake that we have $1,000 and we're spending that, here and there. Would we be a little bit more careful with our money?
Yeah, I think we would.
I would be.
Watching it to see where it's going,
right.
What it's going to do. Hopefully we would. Hopefully we wouldn't be careless with our money.
Right. We're very careful with our money, and we're like, maybe I shouldn't spend it on this. I'll save it for this. But with our time, it just seems like we don't care.
Yeah,
we don't really care.
Which doesn't really make sense because if I spend $1,000, which is a lot to spend, I can work to get that back. If I spend it foolishly or if I lose it or whatever I did with that, I can get it back. However, if I spend an hour I can't get that back.
No.
So that's
No.
where it's different. That's why I say it's our greatest resource, because once it's spent, it's gone forever. Like that's it.
It's true.
Time is non-refundable. Use it with intention.
Well, yes. So, Chuck, I know you talked about this. You like talking about intentionality, or
I do.
Is that the word? Intentionality.
That's good enough.
And so it's non-refundable. So use it with intention. What do you mean by what? Not you didn't write the note there, but what does that mean?
So it means that we never get to use the time again. Whenever, as we go through our life, every moment of our life, we're doing something, and that something that time is gone. Once that minute passes, you're never getting that minute back again. So use it in a way that's intentional, so you're not just losing time or wasting time, which is, I guess, what we're really
Right. And the funny thing is, you can't even buy it back. So it doesn't matter how rich you are, you can't buy that time that you already used up. It is gone. It's been the past, and so now you have to move forward.
Yeah.
Which goes to this point that you pointed out, babe.
Yeah, I said nobody on their deathbed wishes they had spent more time working, or more time away from family, or more time doing whatever.
It depends on the family, maybe.
Well, okay, that's true.
No, but no, that's what you always hear, and those people are like, they're not on their deathbed saying, "I wish I worked more overtime."
They wish they spent more time on the relationships.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because those are the key things in life that most of us find out way too late.
Yes.
And then we spend all of our time building up our own kingdoms here.
Yeah.
And for what? For it to just burn up when we leave, and for our kids to go through our stuff and hand it off to the Goodwill. And no one wants it. So that is a very important point, that the time is non-refundable, and that we need to use it with intention. If you're going with the money theme, it kind of reminds us of a budget, and we'll get into this maybe in the future here. But I'm not a very good budgeter with our money. I have a general idea of where it is, but I mean, imagine if you had your money and you budgeted where it goes. You have an idea of where it goes. Well, if you have no plan, your money just goes.
Yes, it does. That's
And
true.
guess what? If you don't have a plan with your time, it's going to go.
It's the same.
So we're jumping ahead real quick there. So let's get back here to Ecclesiastes, I guess. You like how I say Ecclesiastes?
I do. You always add that syllable.
Chuck, how do you say?
Ecclesiastes.
Say it again.
Ecclesiastes.
He said it the right way.
I say Ecclesiastes. I don't know.
Oh, I did hear the extra
See,
syllable
he
that
said
time.
cities at the end.
I did.
Ecclesiastes. Anyway, it's my show. It's Ecclesiastes.
You said it right that time.
No, I stuck Ecclesiastes.
He might say it right every once in a while.
No, whatever. So,
Ecclesiastes 3. 1 through
because
3.
I think it's hard when you look up time in the Bible. Obviously, Ecclesiastes comes up.
everyone thinks about this,
Yeah.
right?
So I had Ecclesiastes 3. There's a time for everything, of course. To everything there's a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. And I could have done many more, because it goes on.
Right. But
time for everything.
You can look up the verse, but
Right.
it is. You can't read that verse without thinking of the song. Can you?
If you know the song, I
Do
don't
you-
know.
Yeah, say, I
apparently
don't-
I don't know
I don't
that
think I
song.
know
Oh
the
wow!
song.
You don't. Oh, well,
You are
maybe I'm
obviously
just
I mean, it
humming
sounded
it. That's
vaguely
my thing to
familiar,
hum.
but
It was from the '60s or something like that, and I don't know how the song goes except for if I read it, because
Yeah,
it
I
just
kinda
quotes
think
the
I
verse.
have heard it.
But I don't know who did it. Not Chuck. Larry's probably out there listening right now, telling us exactly who it is, and it wasn't my generation, not my music. But anyway, then there's James 4:14, which is a little bit more pertinent. I mean, not the other one's not pertinent, because there is a time for everything. There is a time for everything that Ecclesiastes says.
Right. So James says, "Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away."
Yikes. Now that is so true. As you talk to old people, what do they say?
It seems like it was just yesterday
Yeah.
when the kids were born.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
Yeah.
life moves so quickly, and the older I get, the faster it goes.
Well, it
Yeah.
seems like when the kids were really small, time like stood still. Like, this phase is never going to end. And then all of a sudden it just kicks into gear, and they're all grown up, and they're all driving, and they're all married.
Right.
It just happens so quickly. And then next thing you know, you got gray hair and you're alone. Well, not completely alone, but your kids
you
are
mean
out of the
without
house.
Kids. I was like, "What do you mean alone?"
Right. So anyway, your life is a vapor. It appears for a little time and vanishes. So everything, we have about 80 to 100 years if you're fortunate, and that is a short period of time. no pun intended, this short period of time in the grand scheme of things. We're talking about eternity, where we're going to spend eternity, and 80 years to 100 years is really not much time.
Yeah.
And we have a lot we can do in that time. We're going to get into, making use of our time later, but we're just talking about strict facts and stuff like that about time right now.
So talking about stewarding of our time, what does that look like? The clock keeps counting, so make it count. So we have time. What are we going to do with it? How do we manage it? How do we make good use of it?
That's a good question. I mean, that is, every single minute is very important. Now, obviously, we don't want to be that person that schedules every single minute and there's no time for any adjustment. But we do need to be a little bit more aware of our time and our time management. And like I'd be very open with you. I am terrible. I waste a lot of time, and I'm trying to get a little bit better. And actually doing this study kind of convicted me a little bit. I'm like, oh man, I got a lot of time. I can relate to some of these stats that we're going to read. And I'm like, man, am I really that much? Do I waste that much time? And I can justify it, like everyone else, and be like, well, it's not that bad of wasting time. I have a right to relax, right? I work hard, and you can always justify it. But this isn't, we're not sitting here pointing fingers. We're all guilty of wasting time.
Yeah.
That is a fact. Every human on the face of the earth wastes time in some way. It's just that we're trying not to waste a lot of time because we know that it's not guaranteed to us. It's not. There's not more going to be created. We just have another day. So what do we do with our time? So that's what we're trying to get to is like, okay, we know that we're going to waste our time somewhat, but the goal is let's not waste it a lot. Right.
So,
Right.
Sarah, you did a good bit of research and looking at what do the people actually spend their time on. So let's go some of those statistics.
Yeah, this is kind of fun here.
Okay, well, so we had one that had a really cool graph with like a jar with all sorts of, I guess, beads or something, and it had different colors for how people spend their life.
Right.
So it was broken down into all these different beads, and it was based on 79 years of life.
I don't know why they didn't do 80, but whatever. We're going on 79.
That must be average lifespan.
Okay, that might be. So this is based on 79 years of life. This is kind of interesting. Maybe you guys are out there and find this fascinating. I hope so. If not, too bad. Number one, we spend the most time
in bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
In bed. We spend 33 years, if you lived 79, 33 years in bed. Now, that's deceiving because the next thing, this is the interesting part.
Yeah, so you actually spend 26 years sleeping and then the other 7 trying to get to sleep.
So that's crazy.
Awful.
Yes.
That is
and
really
that is
terrible.
me. I don't always go right to sleep. Now you do. You're pretty good at just
I
falling
usually
asleep.
do.
Me, I toss and turn sometimes. I wake up. If I wake up in the middle of the night, that's trouble. Then it's like a couple hours trying to sleep. But if this is true, 7 years wasted trying to sleep.
So actually, I have no idea how this came up last night, but this topic came up in discussion with my wife and kids last night. And somebody had said that one of them had saw something or read that whenever we actually go to bed and we're trying to go to sleep and we actually don't fall asleep right away, and then we start thinking about it, that the more we actually think about the fact that I'm not going to get to sleep, the longer it takes us to go to sleep. So the reality is that what you should do is actually
count sheep,
pick up a book and read, do something that you're going to try to make yourself stay awake, and you just fall asleep faster.
Unfortunately, when this is terrible, and I think some people can relate, but when I was younger, I would just pick up the Bible and I would fall asleep real quick.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's terrible. It sounds really bad.
That does sound really bad.
Maybe you should go to like Leviticus. I don't even have that. Oh, there it is, Leviticus, and read that.
Like Leviticus. What is that?
But, okay, so it's in bed for 33 years. Sleeping is 26 years. Trying to sleep is 7 years. So now the next thing is work. So pretty much that's going to be up there, right?
Yep, 13 years and 2 months.
That's kind of lower than I would expect. But
Sure seems like it feels like more.
oh, my goodness, it feels like more. But 13 years and 2 months. So think about your average work life is really only 13 years. Hopefully it's productive, or hopefully you're doing something that's worthwhile, and this is what we're going to get talking about later in the philosophy of it, where maybe I'll just talk about it now. But the philosophy of life is like, what is important to you? You have so much time, and what are we to do with our life? here on this planet. And if I'm spending my time working, am I working with my family for an effort, or am I just going to an office for another man? Am I making his kingdom? Am I building his kingdom? And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily if I need some money so I can live and all that. But it does make you want to think, like, what do I want to do for a living? You young people out there, consider this. You're going to be spending a good bit of your life at an office.
Yeah, at a job, doing something, working to bring in resources for the family, especially
Right.
if you're a husband. Hopefully, there's opportunity there that the wife may not have to work; they can
Yep.
stay home. Obviously, there are circumstances that do change where you have to do that. But I remember I always tell my kids that if they're going to take a job, whenever they get to that point in life, that they're going to embark onto some kind of job whatsoever it may be, not necessarily a career, but whenever you take the job, don't take the job just because of the money.
Right.
Find something that's going to be something that you actually like if you can. And number two,
Right.
something that you're going to learn from, something that you're going to learn some new skills so that
Sure.
you can turn around and use that elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's part of the thing, and being able to spend our time intentionally and doing it with a good stewardship is using it not just in this case to work,
Right.
but to further ourselves not only financially but through skills, through education, whatever the case may be, where we're actually improving ourselves.
Sure. No, when I first started doing my job, now if you know what I do, I clean windows, and that's not a very sexy job. It's not like, ooh, wow. I was kind of embarrassed that, I got friends that are engineers and they have important jobs.
I don't know, man. I was at the beach this week.
Okay.
I took a trip to the beach with Jeannie, and we were out there, and this large high condo, some window cleaners
Yep.
out there, hanging
Wow.
from the top of the
There you
condo.
go.
That looks pretty cool, man. When,
Yeah.
when you're hanging from 8, 10, 12 stories.
And, yeah, that might have. I don't even know if that was us. Probably not. We don't go that far usually. But no, that's what I liked about my job. And I only took it for a year for the money. I needed money real quick. I needed a job, and I thought I could do I could do janitor work for about a year. And then I found myself really loving it because it gave me the ability to listen to a lot of things. It's brainless work. Like, I don't really have to think about much. So I had a tape player back in the day. This is way
Wow.
before an iPhones.
That would be the Walkman.
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't even have. Well, I did have a Walkman. Yes, I did have a Walkman, and then
Yeah.
it moved to a CD player, the Discman. But yeah, I had a Walkman, and I would listen to tapes. I would listen to books. I would listen to preaching. I would listen to. So all my study, for the most part, was done while I worked. Not many people get to do that, and I'm like, I really like that aspect of it, and I got to meet some interesting people. But then it moved on to iPhones and things, and I don't always listen to things that are edifying and encouraging and preaching and teaching. I do listen to some frivolous things at times, but I still have that ability to do a lot of my studying not at home, because at the time I had so many young children that needed my attention when I got home that I didn't have time to read. And I remember at church, Bart, he'd be like, "Man, Mike, how do you read all these books?" I'm like, "Well, I do have to tell you something. I actually listened to the books." And he was like, okay. But I considered that when I was doing my job, that I really liked that aspect. The work wasn't like super important. Like, I'm cleaning people's windows, but that aspect I really liked, and obviously I still like it because I'm still doing it. So that's another consideration. That's what you said is very important, and don't just work for the money. There should be many reasons why you choose to do what you do, because we're spending a lot of time at this place.
The next thing we had on the list is screen time, which that's still a huge amount. That's surprising to me.
Well, and
Yeah.
this is obviously, they're just doing averages and doing it out to 79 years because they didn't have these things 79 years ago.
No, they didn't.
Right. But they say 11 years, 4 months on screen time by the time you live a full life. And I suspect that's going to go up
Yeah,
in the
I'm
future. And that's a long time. You almost spend as much time on screen time as you do at work. That's crazy. That is crazy. Well, maybe your work is on screen time, so I don't know. But I think in screen time is a little different.
Count that with mine, right?
I don't. I think
I have a lot
screen
of
time
screen
is
time at
more
work.
is more of just like
Yeah, this is for fun.
apart from
Right.
work.
Non-work screen time.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, we have eating 4 years and 6 months.
Think about that. We eat for 4 years, 4.5 years we eat.
Wow. Probably more so down south.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we skew that a little bit. And that might be fun because we have to eat. That is a fact. But you can also incorporate family time in that eating. Our eating time is very important to us. It's very sacred. We make a time where most of us are there if we can be. Mm-hmm. It's a good time of fellowship and just talking and just having fun. So you can do both at the same time because we have to eat.
You know, I want to stop and just take a moment to dwell on that a little bit because
Okay.
I think today a lot of families don't have that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That is something we also try to do that. Sometimes we're sitting around the table. Sometimes we're actually in the living room, just whatever my case may be. But if we try to bring everybody together, we try to eat together
Sure.
as much, especially the evening meal, not so
Right.
much breakfast and lunch,
Sure,
but
right.
the evening
Yeah.
meal where we're all together. And that actually, there's a time there. You know, that time, like I say, it's sacred. We are able to communicate. We're able to just discuss things. It's just an open environment where we can just talk about what's going on in our lives. So
Yeah.
that's something that, I could encourage everybody to use that time wisely.
Yes, and I wonder how much time we spend talking about eating. You know, like if Kenny's around, we could spend another 4 years talking about eating. We like to talk about what I don't get is we're at a restaurant and we're talking about food from another restaurant. we just love talking about food and eating. What else do we have here? Now, this one's interesting.
Well, the next one was holiday, 3 years, 1 month, and 3 weeks, which I thought was like people getting ready for Christmas, setting up the tree, but it's,
Right, this
it's
is
not
vacation.
that.
It's like going
It's
on holiday, vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, which could include maybe Christmas
sure.
vacation,
Yeah.
summer. I don't know, but that seems like a lot for holiday. I mean, I guess you're almost the same amount of time eating as you do on vacation.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We don't take that many vacations, I guess. We need to do more. How about that, babe? We
Well,
need more
our
vacation.
vacations are usually some kind of working vacations.
Now,
some
this
kind of
this
trip.
next one, I skew it on the lower part.
Okay, so the next
Exercise.
Yes. 1 year and 4 months. That is 1 year and 4 months too much for me. That is just no way. I don't get this. But my work is active enough. Like, why do I want to come home and we're talking about wasting time. I would rather okay, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'd rather waste time just laying around doing nothing than to actually go jogging or something. But once again, this is something no, I just say that for fun, but this is something you do that includes others.
Right.
So you go for a walk with the kids.
Right. In the morning, I get to walk with one of the kids, and that's a time to talk with them.
You exercise with the kids
in the
later.
afternoon, we do our little exercise routine,
Right.
and it's just fun, something for us to do together. So I think.
Right. There's going to be times where we, quote unquote, waste time.
Yep.
If you're going to waste time, like
together.
exercising, which is still
Like
good for your body, but do it with people. Waste time together as a family. If it's a frivolous activity like exercising,
Wow. I can't believe you just said that.
I'm just messing. But for me, I'm being serious. It's just, to me, I don't understand exercise. I just.
So whenever Jeannie, whenever we do exercise and we don't do it enough, that's just make that plain statement right there. We don't do it enough. But if we go walk, we do it together. We do the same thing. We're able. It is a time to be able to communicate and talk. So we share things at the same time. We are working on exercising more. That is a goal that we have right now because we're getting older and it's not getting any easier. So, but if you're going to do it together.
Yeah, why not? You incorporate, kind of mix these things. They call that multitasking, even though that's really not a thing. It's not scientifically possible, but you can look up a YouTube thing on that, and it's you can only do one thing at a time. You can do it real quickly, and it seems like you're multitasking. But that's a whole nother subject. But you can do two things at once. I can listen and jog, and I can do a couple of those things. Kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
Now this one. Romance, 1 year and 30 days. Now, I did some math earlier, and I was thinking about some things, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, okay, a year and a half. I don't know what they mean by romance. But then we read a definition, and we're not going to read it on the air. But But you can imagine.
But it can include like buying flowers or candles.
But that's like 10 seconds. I buy the flowers, pay for them.
Okay, but like a special evening out.
Planning that.
See, that's eating and romancing at the same
There you
time.
go.
Yeah,
Boom.
killing two birds with one
And
stone.
then you go exercise afterward.
You don't.
Well, whatever. So anyway, I'm just trying to help out.
Okay.
So
yeah.
romance was a year and 30 days. So that's think about that.
That is a short time when you look at Hollywood and the movies they put out. It seems like that's all we live for. And well,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's really kind of short. And
Socializing, which down here, that would go with eating, right?
yes, and we like our
right.
socializing.
We don't socialize without eating. That's
No.
a year and 3 days.
A year and 3 days, so about the same as romancing. But isn't that kind of, what if I socialize with my wife? You know, is that the same as romance? I guess not. That's not special. No.
That's different.
Okay, we're wasting a lot of time on these. So let's get it done. One more.
And school is 334 days.
Now
which
this one shocked me. I'm
Yeah.
like, it
Really?
felt like forever that we were in school.
That was 30 years, right?
I know. It felt like we were in school for 20 years. It felt like every day. It felt like 8 hours a day. But in fact, it was only 334 legitimate days and 24-hour periods. So anyway, I hope you guys found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, so just one more thing. That was obviously the breakdown by years. But if you look at a day, I found some article that said that the average person in America has approximately 5 hours of free time per
5
day.
hours.
No
So
way.
Yeah,
if you
5 hours.
I know when you talk to your friends, everyone always says, "How are you doing, Chuck?" Chuck, we're busy. We're always
Busy.
busy. That's the famous reply, right?
Yep.
Is we're busy.
Yep.
But when you really break down your life, it's just that you fill your life with maybe nonsense or things
Yeah.
that aren't necessary,
Yeah.
and that takes control of us. And now we think that we don't have free time, but
Right.
we actually fill our free time with stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So we actually have a lot more time than we
5
think.
hours, and actually broke down between men and women.
Yeah,
And
so women have 5 hours and 18 minutes, and men have 5 hours and 56 minutes.
I knew it. We're lazier than women. I knew it.
So
So
yeah.
that is interesting. I mean, you think about that. If we treat it as money, so we have 6 hours basically of free time. That's a lot.
That's an awful lot. It sure doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it's there.
It doesn't. It doesn't seem like it. But we start analyzing it and budgeting our time out. Now, I'm not a big scheduler, but I do think that it is important to have somewhat of a schedule so we can kind of go back to that.
Yeah, we discussed this a little bit when we were talking about doing a podcast on time. That in my family, it's gone from two extremes. We've gone from scheduling almost every minute of the day,
Micromanaging everything.
yeah, that to actually we're just gonna wing it.
Yeah.
Freebird it.
Neither one of them work well.
Right.
Yeah, pretty
So,
much.
like you say, you need some basic guidelines. You need some blocks of time that are set aside. We do need to kind of schedule that out, but also to have the flexibility to be available for others
Sure.
and to help out
Yeah.
when they're needed. And
Flexibility
and
is
do other
huge.
Yeah.
I think the flexibility is. We know people that are just they live by their schedule, and if you're that type of person, good on you. I can't. I need a little bit of flexibility there, and maybe it's kind of like my budget. I have a good idea, but then it's like, the rest of it's good, but. Dave Ramsey was like, you got to know where every dollar goes. Well, I don't know who the guy is for scheduling, and
Stephen Covey.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got to know every minute of your day. It would take too much time for me to figure that out. So it's kind of redundant. Well, babe, why don't you go ahead and go to Ephesians 15 through 17. This is a
Okay.
good verse.
It says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is.
And then we might as well just go ahead and go to Colossians 4:5.
Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time."
So those are the two times that really talks about redeeming the time in the
Right.
Bible.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk about redeeming the time.
Yeah, because redeem means to buy up. So it's,
Yeah, so how do you buy
we
time?
compare it to money, and you actually can use it kind of like money. It's like, so that's why we say, how do you spend your time?
Right.
So yeah.
So you have some examples that maybe people can relate with.
Well, yeah, because you think about people using their time, and you have a limited time, and so, like, you think about kids. When the kids were young, and I would take them to the park, I'd be like, "All right, there's 5 minutes
Got
left."
the 5-minute warning.
And they'd be like, "Okay, guys," and they would all like get together and figure out, what last thing they wanted to do, last time they wanted to go down a slide, or let's try to, whatever they were going to come up with, but they were going to use every moment that they had left there. Or like if you have a day left of vacation, I know when we went to the Smokies, we were like, do you want to go see the waterfall, or would you rather hang out at the hotel or cabin or whatever? And you got to figure out how you're going to spend that last day when you only have a limited time. You got to make your choice. And so,
right, which leads to procrastination, which we'll talk about. Just get to your third point here.
Oh, and then obviously deadlines. We have work deadlines, school deadlines. You have people coming for the weekend. You got to get the house ready. So we all know all too well how deadlines work.
Yes, deadlines. I'm not very good at deadlines. And once again, I got to look in the mirror, and I am terrible at this. And the one big word is procrastination.
Yeah, procrastination. You want to put it off. It can wait till tomorrow, right?
Oh, man. That is my life, especially in college. I would wait till the night before to do a paper. Sarah was like, well, you must be good under pressure. No, I got bad grades. So that's what happened. That's what happens when you wait to the last minute on anything. You do a project at the last minute, it's shoddy work. So it is good to allocate these times to where we can schedule these things, and so it goes well. Yeah. So we see it in normal life.
Yeah, I think none of us really like deadlines.
No, I hate deadlines.
But deadlines are actually good.
They are.
I mean, if we're honest with ourselves, they help us to get something done.
Even if they're artificial,
yes.
It helps us to get something done, even if we are rushed at the end and we could say, well, we didn't get done. It's good. Deadlines are good. I hate deadlines, though. Yep. But like you said, the kids know that we got 5 minutes. Now, some kids are smart and they argue for 5 more minutes. But some kids are like, we gotta use our time wisely. And that's our attitude as Christians. Think about it. We got to use our time wisely. I mean, you think about what Ephesians was saying and Colossians was saying, that we should redeem the time. Now, obviously, you cannot purchase more time,
right?
But how are we going to spend that time like we spend our money? And let's
think about that for a minute. So you say you can't purchase more time, and you're right. You can't just go say, here's $100. I want 10 more minutes.
Yeah,
right. That would be great. We probably want more than 10 minutes for $100. But it is in one way we can, and that's a balance between how much time we spend working to make the money and how much time we actually spend purchasing that from the fact that away from work.
Right.
How much do we put into being out there trying to build the career, actually be able to make the money, to get up the corporate ladder, whatever the case may be, and what's the trade-off?
Right.
We need to understand that that the quality of life isn't in the money. The quality of life is how you spend the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, money is important. Don't get me wrong, especially in our society, but how important is it? Like you could do without. There are certain things that we could do. Is it worth neglecting your family to build a career? That is at the heart of it. Is like, if my family means that much to me, then maybe if we're struggling, then maybe I need to take some time off. Does that mean if I have to find a new job, then so be it? But what are the important things? Once we realize what the important things are, then we can go from there. We know what the important things are, so then we make all our decisions from that. And if at any point, making money and building a career is important. I'm not diminishing that at all. But if it gets in the way for a season, I'm like, I have to pull back a little bit. I can't work here anymore because it's demanding so much of my time. These are hard questions.
Yeah, I think if we want to get anything a point across from the show today, this is probably it. This, especially to the age group. I think the largest population is 18 to 25. Those listen to the show.
Yep.
You need to understand right now, whenever you're looking towards your life, you're trying to figure out what is important and how to put it together. Determine right now what's important to you. Whenever you get to be 79 years old and you're looking back, you don't want to say, you're never going to say, I wish I would put more time working. Right. It's always going to be those relationships. So look at the people in your life. Determine now that I'm going to work enough to be able to provide for my family, but I don't need to have all the extras.
Right, because that providing looks many different ways, right? There's not one way it should look. And so once you have that goal in mind of what it looks like, you can adjust from there.
Well, and I think, sorry to interject here, but
no, that's the point.
I think that even for moms at home with kids, I mean, you guys are talking about working and choosing your career or whatever, but I think, I mean, I'm home, I'm with the kids, but I still make choices of how I'm going to spend my time.
On Facebook, right?
Yeah. But, you know, I remember somebody saying when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So it's
That's
like
true.
when I do go to the computer and like, I'm going to check out Facebook for a while, I'm saying no, I'm not going to spend time with my kids. I'm not going to do other things, you know. It's,
Right.
it's
That's
very,
true.
It's very important. And I mean, you know, like, just I think moms need to really consider
It
how
sounds
they're
harsh
using
that
their
way,
time.
but
well,
you're like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna mess around on my phone. I got a game I'm playing on my phone, so I'm saying no to my wife and kids. That you know, you're not saying that, but you
Right.
are in a
Yes,
sense.
you are.
You know,
Absolutely
that
are.
is like I'm doing what I want to do right now. And it's hard when you really break it down to this. You know, a lot of people are listening, like, come on, man, can't we have some time? You do what you got to do, and I'm not making any judgments. I'm not going to tell you how much or not. I got to look in the mirror too, and I know I waste a lot of time, and I want to focus my life and be more, what's the word I'm looking for, more productive in the kingdom, and how that looks with my family and my work and everything that I do. I want to be excellent. And so if I just sit around, that perspective is not in my heart. Like, I'm not rejecting you, you know, or if I'm going to watch a YouTube video real quick, I'm not saying no to my family, but in a sense, I am. And so we need to be, like you say, intentional. Intentional is really the key. So let's wrap up this first part where Jesus, he knew his time was limited, right?
Yeah, he did.
And we got a couple verses here that John 7:33.
Then said Jesus unto them, Yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me.
And then what do we have? John 4:9.
John 9:4.
Yeah, whatever.
says,
I'm dyslexic.
I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. So,
Yeah. So I mean, I know Michael Thornton's been talking about that, and there's going to be a time where this is now. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And that's what makes us rethink like our priorities.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are we really here for? Is it just to build a business and then die?
Right.
You know, are people important? Our family's important. Our friends are important. Relationships are important. So these are the things that we need to really think about how we redeem the time. So I guess at that point, when we're going to take a break and we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to read some emails, and then we're going to have we're not going to do a game this time. We're not.
I don't lose today.
Yeah, we're not going to embarrass ourselves. But we do have some questions that maybe you can get to know us a little bit more on. But we're going to take a break, and then when we come back from that, our part 2 of this is looking at some of those distractions and what we can do with that. So let's take a break.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back, and this segment, we are changing things up a little bit for season 2, and we usually just talk about our week and all that stuff. Well, we'll save it for this segment, and actually, we were on our way to a wedding this week. You guys were there too.
We were.
And we actually rode back together with the Tates, and we bugged them so much that in order to get out of the vehicle, they had to spend the night in Gulf Shores.
That's not true.
No, but they did spend the night in Gulf Shores. No, it was enjoyable. Abigail was driving behind us, and we got to just sit there and talk with you and Jeannie for a while. But on the way to the wedding, I looked up some conversation starters. As Sarah says, I don't need those, but it was for the kids. It just, would you rather, or just all these things. And I'm like, that we could do that on the podcast so people can kind of get to know us in a different way instead of just, seeing what we did for the week. But if you want to know what we did for the week, we went to a wedding. And it was fine. He got married. Isaac got wedding. Isaac got married to Catherine, and everything went smoothly. It was good, and it was short and to the point because Ben did it, and that's why it was short. And so he's short, in case you don't know. But anyway, before I get in more trouble, Abigail, where is we got the little thing? Oh, okay, it's time. All right, Abigail, take it over. Explain what we're doing.
Well, I have 8 would you rather questions, and I'm going to just ask them one at a time, and you guys will go ahead and give your answers.
8. I thought we had 7. We have 8.
There are 8.
Okay.
There's a surprise question. at the
Okay.
end.
Oh, is there? All right. Well, would you rather? This is something like teenagers play, right? Would you rather eat a bug or a spider? I guess that's the same thing.
All right, so the first one is, would you rather always be 10 minutes late or always 20 minutes early?
This is easy. This is easy for
Okay,
me.
go ahead.
Well, you're not going to answer?
Oh, well, I would rather be 20 minutes early.
I was raised that 20 minutes early was on time. And so 20 minutes early by far. I hate being late. I don't like being late for anything.
I would agree. I'd rather be 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
Although I've learned to live with the fact that you're normally late.
Yeah, it bugs me when we're late, but you know what? I live down south now, and I know that everything that we do is late. Everything. Which, I actually, talking of the subject of time, maybe I'll write that note on some of those time wasters. Remind me about that. So
Okay.
you maybe write that note down. Okay, why don't you go ahead for number 2. So 20 minutes early is definitely, I'd rather do that.
All right, and your next one, would you rather read a book with your family or watch a movie with your family?
Ooh.
Yeah, that one's an interesting one. I kind of go back and forth on that one. We actually do a lot of read alouds. That's something we've enjoyed as a family over the years. I like movie time too, but I guess if I had to choose, I probably would go with the book.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and because we did cheat and look at the questions a little early, but at first I was thinking movie easily because all my kids are grown now, and it just seems like something easy to do. But then I was thinking, but honestly, in the past we did a lot of readings out loud. We read a lot of books together out loud, and those were fun. I would do little voices for it. They would ask questions in the middle of the book, and I'm like, can we finish reading the book first before you ask questions? So I don't know. That's a tough one. I might say reading a book, but at this stage in life, it's just easier doing a movie, honestly. We still talk about the movie afterward.
I'm going to have to go with the book. I love reading books together.
Yes, you do. You still do that.
And I do still do that. So whoever's still home in the morning, usually after breakfast, we get to read a book.
That is true.
I love that.
All right, what's next?
All right, next one. Would you rather live in a new country every month or never go on vacation again?
Yeah, okay, this was ridiculous. But why don't you go ahead, babe?
That's really tough. I don't know.
This one's kind of easy. There's no way.
There is no way.
No way
You
that
wouldn't
I'm
want to
going
go to a new country every
There's
month.
no
yeah.
way. Every month,
Yeah,
go to a new country.
That would get really old.
Yes, I would just have to be creative with my vacations and just
That
not
would
call
not
it
be a
vacation.
good use of our time.
That was
Yeah,
not a good use. No,
Probably
no.
not.
No. Okay.
All right, this next one. Would you rather have more time or more money?
Easy.
Well, speaking of which, okay, so I joked about this earlier, and like I told Chuck, what did I say? It'd be like, if how we get that more time? Is it at the end of our life? Then you can keep that, and I'll take the money. Because my last 10 years, if I'm 90 to 100, I wish.
But you won't care about the money then either.
No, that's why I want the money now, because if those 10 years are gone, then I can
see.
use the money.
Okay.
But obviously, since we're doing a time episode, I want more time.
Yeah, I would definitely have to go with the more time, especially if we can keep the money we got right now.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm okay with what I've got.
Going with
Just give me the time.
Time. And we already waste time, so I guess we need more of it. I don't know.
Okay, would you rather work more hours per day but fewer days, or work fewer hours per day but more days?
Yeah, okay, so basically...
So like a 4-day work week or a 5-day? Like
yeah,
that
something
kind
like
of thing?
that. I could work 5 hours every day, but work every day, or work 3 days and work like 12s, So, me personally, I'm going to shock myself by saying this, so...
I know. I'm anxious to hear what you say.
I would rather work more days, just less hours per day, because I do like getting in that routine of waking up. Because if I don't work, I'm kind of lost. Because it's even if I work for 2 hours a day, I go to work for a short job and then I come back and I already feel like I've accomplished something. Then we can get moving. But if I don't have anything, I'm a bad planner and bad scheduler, and as I told you, I waste a lot of time, and I'm just like, it's Saturday. I don't do anything.
I'm actually not shocked. I thought that's what you would say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Chuck?
I'm going to go the other route. 'Cause
Okay.
If I have my choice, I would rather have big blocks of time.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
I would, if I had to choose, I'd rather choose to work more hours in a day and have the other days to myself.
Yep, I can appreciate that. That's a tough one, but yeah. What's next?
You're looking at me like you want an answer. My work spread. Like, I don't know. I don't have work or not work. It's just.
Yeah, she's a mom,
life,
so she's always
I don't
working,
know.
right?
All right, next one. Would you rather be too busy or be bored?
Too busy or bored? Well, is there a right answer? I would rather be
Well-
bored. I don't want to be too busy. I hate being busy. I don't like the pressure of being busy. It's to me, we're already too busy as people, and I'd rather just be bored. But
How
those
long
are
do I
terrible.
have to be bored?
Yeah,
Don't know.
Yeah, if I could be bored and then decide to do something, I'm going to take the bored.
yeah. Boredom is a good thing in a sense because it can lead to creativity if you use it that way. But if you just are bored the rest of your life, how boring.
I don't know. I can't remember ever being bored. It's been way too many decades, so it would be cool to see what that feels like again, I guess. But I like my life.
I guess
and
we're
it's
used to
very
being busy, so we know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
do.
yeah.
So, I
Anyway.
don't-
All right, would you rather have your flight delayed by 8 hours or lose your luggage?
I'd
Well,
rather have the flight delayed.
yes.
It depends on where I'm going and what time I need to get there. Because if I'm
that's true, too.
getting there right in time to go to some meeting and I'm going to miss it because I'm 8 hours delayed, then I'll just not have my luggage. But I really want my luggage.
I've never lost luggage before, but I've heard that that's a terrible ordeal.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Really? People
No.
are fine with losing their luggage?
Well, I mean, oftentimes if you lose your luggage, the airline's going to reimburse you anyway.
But they might lose it forever.
Well, but if they give you the money to buy the new stuff,
I don't know. I've never
lost my luggage though.
I've
so
never
I'm
put
thinking of
luggage
something I
in.
don't
The
know.
only few times I've ever flown, I just brought a carry-on, and that
Right.
was it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to be late either. I don't know.
Mike doesn't want to get on the plane.
That's it. That's me. I don't want to fly. So that's the easy answer.
All right, last one. Would you rather go to the mountains or the beach on vacation?
Oh, easy.
What you going to say?
I don't really like the beach. Mountains every time. The beach doesn't do anything for me. It's just,
Wow.
oh, that's neat.
I like the beach, but I'm going to have to go with the mountains.
Yeah, the beach does. I know you guys like the beach. Jeannie loves the beach, right?
Jeannie likes the beach very much. She
Yep.
enjoys it, but I think I can speak for her. I could be wrong though. I don't know. Maybe I need to ask her that question. But no, I would definitely choose the mountains over the beach.
Absolutely. I'm a mountains guy.
Yeah. So who won?
Yeah, who won?
There's no score.
Oh, man, we weren't keeping score. We all win. All right, well, we're going to quick take a break, and then we'll get right back to the emails. We got a few emails we're going to read, and then we'll get back to the rest of time.
You've been listening to The Mike Charleston Show.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to the podcast today. If you want to be a part of the show, go ahead and email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. That is talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. Leave us a comment, a question, whatever you want to do. Please participate with the show. Thank you.
Welcome back. At this time, we're going to take a look at what we've got in the mailbag. What you got there,
Yeah,
Mike?
the mailbag email. Well, we got about 3 emails. And babe, you got your readers ready? Because I can't read that really. But we did get one from our consultant, and he wrote a long email for me that I don't think he wants it to be read on the air. But I will say this: he does say hello, Mike and show. He says he loves the name change. If you haven't noticed, it's not the Mike Charleston podcast; it is the show. Mike Charleston Show, especially because I watch instead of listen. He watches on YouTube. And if you watch on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That would be great. That's where you can find it. If you're not aware that we're on YouTube, you can watch the show. I don't know why you'd want to watch us, but hey, there you go. Chuck did great, especially remembering the recap, which you did.
Hey.
You did remind us of the recap, and now that was your suggestion, consultant, to do the recap, and we thought that was a good idea, so we did. I have more to say about Chuck, but I'll save that for the next email.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
But he says it's all good.
All good.
All good?
All
Okay.
good. He likes that Chuck brings a different And even at the end, he says, P.S., good job, Chuck. So
Right.
I don't know if he wants this to be the Chuck Tate show or what. What are we talking about here? So, no, thank you, show consultant, for your email. We have one here from Larry.
Hi, I'm still Larry.
Yeah, he's still here, but he's going to... Oh, actually, we didn't mention that, did we?
No.
So Larry is not going to be on the show for a few more weeks. He's preparing a move. He is moving to Louisiana. Woo! So Larry is going to move by us, and he's going to be in person. No more phone issues.
Oh.
And I know you like the phone issues, and it is kind of a thing at this point. But Larry is going to be joining us on the show. So for the meantime, while he's moving, we're just going to take him off the show, put him on probation. But he's still part of the show. And he wrote an email, and don't read it. His grammar isn't always good. So, well, you'll find out. Just you can fix it.
Okay. Wow. All right. So he says, really enjoyed the latest episode. When you announced the topic, my mind immediately went to passive-aggressive Christianity.
Passive-aggressive. That's interesting.
Right. That wasn't what you meant at all. When you guys were talking about your experiences in school, it sparked a thought. We are conditioned from an early age in school to sit and let someone else feed us information, at least those that went to public school and most private schools as well.
True.
The students that don't conform are labeled with a disorder. We see the same in our churches. We sit each week and let the professionals feed us information. Those in the church that don't conform or ask questions are labeled as someone who sows discord among the brethren. For these reasons, most homeschoolers and home church goers find it hard to fit in because they do things outside the norm. Just some thoughts, Larry.
Yeah, Larry, that is true. I like your comparison there of the normal school system where you just sit down and we're going to tell you what you need to think and believe, and that's it. We don't have any time for creativity or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a great example. It makes me remember from my own childhood during elementary school and middle school. I actually had the opportunity to go to a special class. It was actually not at the physical school where I went to during the week.
A special class? Not that kind of special class?
It was gifted.
Gifted, okay.
But not in the way you're thinking. Okay, so it was a gifted class.
Gifted.
We actually got to go. You had to score high enough to be able to get in. Okay?
Gotcha. That's what they told you.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what they told me. Then we got to go to 1 day a week. Instead of going to the normal school, we went to a different place, different location, different teacher, and it was much more interactive type school.
Sure.
Much more interactive learning. Games, you would have loved it, Mike.
Yeah, I love games.
Creativity where you're doing art, you're doing hands-on. We learned photography and development photography. We had our own development, a dark room.
Yeah, it sounds like my senior year of high school.
I would specifically remember one time one of the projects that we had to create our own game.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. So yeah,
wow.
You're absolutely right. We go normal school. You sit down and you're fed a lot of information.
Yeah.
That's a very good example of relating that to passive Christianity.
Right,
We're just not
and church
being
will
part
do
of it.
that too. That is, you sit there in classroom, quote unquote classroom, and we tell you what you need to hear, and then you go home. And so yeah, that is you are an oddball, Larry, but you're not the only oddball. All right, we got another email. This one's from Ethan from Parts Unknown. So go ahead and read it, babe, and then we'll guess.
Okay, it says, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Charleston. Last time I emailed you, you guessed that I'm from the Isle of Man. Well, that's not my home. Guess again.
Okay, guys. Well, he wants us to guess. I'm going to guess, what did I say? The island up there, the Mackinac Island. How about Mackinac Island?
Okay, good guess. What about you, Chuck?
The name and the sound of everything, I think, is a little more southern than that, Mike. Maybe not true south down here. I'm going to go with Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. What about you, babe?
I think you're both way off. I think he's probably from way out west. I'm thinking Seattle.
Seattle.
Oh.
Wow, with the needle and all.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
wherever you are from, Ethan. Okay, carry on.
Okay. Anyway, recently I went back to some of the older episodes and have had a lot to think about. 2 of your episodes in season 1, Creating a Godly Culture and Sheltering, and Homeschooling 101, gave me a good perspective on how to build a godly home. I might have to go back and listen to them again. Your latest episode was encouraging to listen to. I know what it's like to be in the passive Christian state. I often fall back into it a lot, but 1 Peter 3:15 and 16 have been the driving verses for me to study God's Word. But even then, I struggle to find time, sadly.
That's our subject, man.
Exactly. Or remind myself to study His Word. Is there any way to combat that?
Guess what, man? We are talking about that today. And
so then he has 1 Peter 3.
So he put the verses down. Do you want to read that real quick?
Sure. But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Christ.
Yep. So we're going to actually be talking about that. Just after this, we'll give some of the time wasters and what we can do about that. And hopefully we've talked about making that a priority to think about our time, however that looks in your life. But we do appreciate your kind words, and I'm going back and checking those out. I'm always curious to see how we sounded like 7 months ago. And but once again, if you're listening, if you're new to this show and you just caught season 2, you may want to go back to season 1. Hopefully there's a lot of good episodes back there to check out. I think they're pretty good.
I think so too. I wasn't even on.
That's right. So Chuck wasn't even on there. But okay, why don't we get out of here, Joshua, and then we'll come back and finish our time episode.
Thank you for listening to the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we're back, and we're going to get into our last segment here, which is we're talking about the time, things we waste our time on. How can we avoid distractions and wasting time?
Yeah, and also just a note before we get and talk about we're not purposely we're not going to make a law here or rules. These are just things to think about, right?
Yes.
I mean, just when you're spending too much time, and we were just talking about that last email off air. And if you have Bibles, you want to study the Bible more. How do you make more time for that? That was kind of appropriate for their episode. Yeah. And like you said, Chuck, it's you do what you want to do, right?
Yeah, we're all going to do what we want to do. That's if you stop to think about it, you got to think about that one a little bit. But
right.
We do what we want to do.
Now, sometimes we need to be more directed, and that's where scheduling may come in and help people. Because sometimes if you don't have a plan, you do just tend to do nothing, and you just next thing you know, you've just wasted 3 hours watching YouTube videos, and then you're like, okay, enough of the cats, So, but anyway, back to the question: how do avoiding distractions? So, what are some of the distractions we have? Like you came up with some 3 main distractions. Which before we get to the 3, I wanted to talk about the running late. And this is going to offend my Southern friends, but I think we need to think about it because it affects all of us at some times. We want to respect people's time.
That's right.
And when we had church, everyone is late for church. But honestly, the way we do church, it's not that big of a deal because that's the time allotted is Sunday. We're gonna be at my house for a while, so it's not a big deal. But other things, even like going to the doctor's office, the doctor offends me. But anyway. You want to meet someone or you have something, respect their time by being on time. Show up for an event on time, because now you're making someone just wait, and he could be doing that time doing something else.
Right.
And instead you're forcing him to wait for you, and that's kind of unfortunate. So anyway, that was free. But back to the 3 things. What's the first one?
So the first one I have is work.
Work.
Obviously, we talked about work earlier and choosing the type of work. But
yeah, I think we covered that a little bit. Yeah. But we're caught into the 40-hour work week. We talked about that on a few episodes ago. Chuck was talking about that just earlier. Think about what you want to do for a career. We don't always have to work for corporate America. We don't always have to be a part of a system. We can work for a little bit, take time off, work here, go here. However you decide that stuff, sometimes work can be a distraction for what our real goals are in life. Sometimes we have to work overtime. I have to work overtime at times. It can be a distraction for family time, is work.
But I mean, work is a good thing and it's necessary.
Yes.
It's just that some people take it too far, and it's like we're just working so we can get more and more and more stuff, and we don't need it.
Right. That's I guess that's the bigger point, and I'm glad you brought that up, is because we do have to work, and no one's saying go home and sit on your hands all day,
right.
But do we have to work overtime? Do we have to work so much more? Do we have to take those extra classes to to step up on the corporate ladder? Maybe, I don't know. But think about all that time that you're spending being distracted from maybe more important goals. Now, if you're a single man, like I tell Jeremiah right now, like, dude, this is your time to work overtime. You have a goal in mind, accomplish that goal. Now, when you start having a family, now working 60 hours isn't probably the best idea. So it does depend on where you're at in life.
Right.
Yeah.
The responsibilities change.
Yes.
One of the things that we learned from the pandemic that we just went through, and I will say through because I like to say it's over.
Yes, it's true.
But we learned that, there's a lot of jobs out there that people don't have to go to work.
Yeah, it made them feel really good, huh?
Yeah, it's like we don't have to be there.
Right.
So just, if you're beginning your career, if you're beginning in the early stages, you can think about that. There's some jobs that give you more flexibility of where you actually do the work and when you actually have to do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is our point? Matthew 6:19 through 20. Why don't you go ahead and read that, babe?
It says, "Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal."
Now, you emphasized the word heaven. Was that for a purpose?
Oh,
No, okay,
No.
that's fine. No, but this is an important point, though. We lay up our treasures in heaven. So remember why we're here. Remember the focus. It's all about Christ and what God would want us to do. And if that means you're a doctor or a lawyer, then so be it. Or if you're a window cleaner, then so be it. Okay, so what are number 2 for distraction?
busy, busy, busy. Everyone says they don't have time because we're all too busy.
Yes, and there's a bunch of songs I could think of right now. But as we pointed out in the first segment, we all have free time. That is a fact. I was thinking about this. We talked about this earlier as we were talking about the episode and we were brainstorming. I was like, think about the settlers in the 1700s and stuff, where we would look back and go, my goodness, they lived a life of sacrifice. They didn't have any free time. They constantly were working, and I'm sure they did have some free time. But their life was full of activity and just to survive. And then we fast forward 300 some years, and here we are with the conveniences of electricity and washing machines and dishwashers and things like that, and we still complain we don't have enough time. So really, at this point, it is more about how we use it and how we can schedule it. Anyway, you have
Pretty much.
1 Thessalonians 4:11.
It says, "And that ye study to be quiet and to do your own business and to work with your own hands as we commanded you."
So to be quiet, the King James uses quiet here, to keep quiet, which means what?
It says here to rest and cease from labor.
Yes. So to live a quiet life, to cease, to be quiet is not to be busy. Is to be able to, sometimes we just need to learn to just sit still.
Yeah.
And we're running. Now we are a homeschool family and we don't get involved with a lot of stuff. But I do know that the typical American family, they're running off to soccer practice, ballet practice, music practice, and they're just constantly busy. I would hate that personally. It's just running around.
So
Oh, my
right.
goodness.
We do choose not to do a lot of those things, the busyness that we see the other people running around doing. But we also are choosing to fill our lives with something else.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
are we actually putting in our life? And we do schedule it to where we're staying pretty active. I mean, my wife thought that, just to comment that a week or two ago that, we're busier now than we were when the kids were little. We just thought we were busy.
That's
then.
right.
It's like, wow, but
It's different kind of busy.
different kind of busy. I've got kids that are married and some that are unmarried, and they're all over the world. I've got a son right now that's in Guam today, but I'm not going to see him. But still,
That's right.
it's just they're everywhere. So our lives are busier because we want to keep up with them and go see them and be able to do things.
Yeah.
Well, and what about from a woman's perspective, since you're in the chick chair, living a quiet life, women are known for being gossipers. I don't want to just label all women, but stay-at-home moms, the whole thing was they just sit at home and watch soap operas and eat bonbons, right? But that's not the case. But how do you live a quiet life when you're raising your kids?
Well, I mean, I do think just eliminating distractions. Obviously, you don't sign up for everything. You don't, a lot of opportunities come up. You can't do everything. You have to pick and choose.
It's okay to say no, right?
Yeah, you have to pick and choose. And even just staying home, obviously, is enough. So you have to leave your phone somewhere to get away from the
That's a
computer,
good thing.
you know, because I feel like it's very important to be quiet. And I mean, the Bible has 2 times that we're supposed to study to be quiet, or 2 things we're supposed to study to show yourself approved, and then this one, study to be quiet. And so I think
study to be quiet.
It's something really important that is hard for us to do in our busy rush world, and we always have all these things going and things ringing and beeping, and you know, it's
I
hard.
think a lot of us can learn a lesson from this. Just be quiet.
Yeah.
And I like quietness. I know with 7 kids that didn't happen too much, but honestly, in our house, we just had quiet. We're all reading. It's just quiet. Let's just enjoy that. Number 3.
Fun. Because God wants us to enjoy life, right?
Yeah, God wants us to enjoy life, and we have the right because I work hard. But, 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 2, and verse 4, why don't you go ahead and just put those together?
It says, "This know also that in the last times perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God."
That is a nice warning. I mean, this verse right here is exactly where we are in America. We love our pleasure. We live for the weekends, basically.
Yeah.
That is what we do, is live for the weekends. So I'm just going to give you a list of some of these things. We're not necessarily going to talk about these things. You, in your own heart, when you get alone with God and you're thinking about some of the things we're talking about, you got to do a heart check with some of these things. We're not trying to tell you not do any of these things, but you know where you're struggling. Like, I looked at myself in the mirror, as I did at the beginning of the program, and this hurts. Some of these things will hurt. But if you really want to be a aggressive Christian, and take life seriously, then you're going to have to consider some of these things, honestly. Mm-hmm. And some of those things being socializing. And what do we mean by socializing? Just like go to parties, having friends, spending time, social media maybe?
Yep.
What about TV?
TV.
TV time. These days it's YouTube,
Right.
whatever it is. It's easy to get rid of a TV these days. I've had friends say, I got rid of my TV. I just look at everything on YouTube.
Not quite the same as it was 20 years
right,
ago.
exactly.
Right.
Not the same. TV, hunting, fishing, that's not me, but a lot of my friends I know love hunting and fishing. Once again, nothing wrong with it, but how much time? We had a friend of ours that had to give that up because it consumed so much of his time. He was neglecting his family. Yeah. So he just gave it up altogether. Now, he may pick it back up when his kids get older. Who knows? Because it's something you can do together. Yeah. That would be fine. What else do we have on the list?
Big boy toys.
Big boy toys. I don't know. What was that? You wrote that down.
Well, it was in the book, but
okay.
I think of like an old neighbor we had that spent all day on his boat, or out there.
Yeah, it wasn't even that fancy of a boat.
Tinkering around. I don't know. I don't have
fancy
big boy
cars.
toys.
Fancy cars, working on the cars, do it. Yeah.
Yep. Big boy toys. That can definitely be taking our time. Some of our hobbies, that we get into, it can all of a sudden become more than just hobbies. They are all consuming.
Right.
Sports. I'm guilty of this one. At times, big time when I was first a Christian. I mean, there was no sport that I didn't know the rules to. I loved watching any kind of sport. Just really competitive like that. I really like sports, and I've pretty much cut them all out of my life except for one. And the playoffs just got over for that one, so the Bruins lost, and the hockey team is done. So they're done. But these things definitely take a lot. They're definitely distracting. They're not necessarily bad things. They could be, but these are things that I think everybody needs to look at.
Yeah, we need to see how much time are we spending on the entertainment and the pleasures,
right,
as compared to how much time are we spending on the productive things in our life, pouring into other people and things that we do for others, and how we spend our time with God.
Things that are eternal.
Yeah.
Because the pleasurable things are short term, and it's just usually pleasing myself. Because even in some of those things that are fun to do, if we do that with each other, it's a little bit more productive at least. At least I'm sharing my life with someone. And even if I'm going to play a game, do I just sit there and play a game by myself, or do I include others and then we can share that moment together? So these are tough issues, and honestly, I'm not a big scheduler, but to help manage your time, there's a lot of resources out there to talk about scheduling, and that is a big help, honestly, because I find myself the time I find this. How do I say this? The time I find wasting time most is when I'm done doing what I know to do, and then I'm just like, well, what's next? And I don't. There's nothing to do.
You have no plan.
Right. So then I go and try to make up something. I go in the garage and I'm like, well, that's too big of a project right now. What about this? Not right now, because And so then it's just easy to do nothing then at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how we waste time, and we've said that there's a lot of things that can be unproductive. But I think we also need to realize that there are certain times that you just need some downtime.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I know that for my wife, there's sometimes she just needs to be able to go and get away and be by herself for a little bit, just to be able to have a few moments of quiet.
Yep.
To have a place where she can go and
quiet
relax. We need to actually turn it off every once in a while and relax. So it's not a bad thing to take some of that time to be able to do that, but that's not what we're saying. We're just saying we need to look at how we're spending our time and be good stewards.
Yep. Yeah. You get, and only you can answer that question.
Yep.
You, the listener out there, or you, the viewer. We're not going to give you, you can only spend an hour on the computer a day. That's not my place. This is something between you and God. And so anyway, why don't we go ahead and recap?
Yeah, so let's look back at what we were talking about. The first thing was we said that time is our greatest resource.
Once it's gone, we cannot get it back. You can't buy it. It keeps moving forward.
Yeah.
Next one is, how are we doing as a steward of our time?
Yeah, this is where scheduling comes in, and viewing what we actually spend our time on. Are we making a concerted effort? Are we being intentional with our time?
Yep. And then finally, how do we avoid the distractions that cause us to waste our time?
So once we plan and we have a good idea, there's going to be those moments where things are creeping in and distracting us, and we just gave you some things to check out. Are we being deceived, and we need to avoid these distractions. Distractions are always going to be there. That is for sure.
Right.
So anyway, that's it. I think we're overtime on the time episode. So I think that's fine, though. This is a good episode. It's good to consider these things, honestly. So thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and share. And thank you for listening and watching. We'll see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show.